Hi everyone, welcome to another Lionx Chats interview. Today I'm going to be interviewing a dear friend who creates these amazing clay creations, and her name is Lili. So I'll be sharing her story with you all. So thank you so much for your love and support, and we will go ahead and get this chat started. So here we go. Bear with me. Thank you everyone for connecting. Thank you so much for the love and support. So here we go. So we'll get Lili here and we'll get this going. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much for the love and support. And we'll get this going. Lili!
Hey!
Yeah, this is better.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, how are you doing? Look at this.
Oh, the cutest Fritas.
Yes. How are you doing? Everything good in
Uh,
Texas?
it is. It is hot.
Yeesh, I bet. How hot is it out there?
You know what? I don't even know what the degrees is. The humidity though, it just overpowers it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what my temperature is at home. It's hot.
I bet. Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, out here in the Bay Area, I'm in California, and it tends to always be very like gloomy and not so much like sun here and there. But yeah, it's crazy that weather. It reminds me of like some areas in Mexico where it's very
Yeah.
hot and stuffy, and yeah.
Oh,
But
I
yeah.
bet. I know. I never like. I mean, the heat. I'm not a fan, of course, but now with my 1-year-old, putting her in a car seat, putting her out of the car seat, while I'm like, oh, this is a whole different world,
Oh my
and the
God,
heat.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank you
then
everyone
she's
for joining
sweating, and I'm
us.
like, no.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Lili, for accepting to share your story today with us and how you started your whole journey. And so, thank you again, everyone, for connecting today with us and joining us in this amazing chat. So, why don't we just kind of get and started and dive into it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, Lili, so who are you? Where you're from? Where's your family from?
I am from Dallas, born and raised here in Dallas, Texas. Both of my parents are from Mexico.
Woo!
And yeah, La Raza, right?
La
Like,
raza.
yeah, they're both from Mexico. They both came to the U.S. as children. So
Mm,
they were both here as children. So they actually went through middle school and high school here,
okay.
here in Dallas specifically. So my entire family is actually here in Dallas,
Oh,
in my
nice.
immediate family, and then we do have family everywhere else, but my immediate family is from Dallas. I have a 1-year-old. Well, she turns 1 next week on Father's Day.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
adorable.
Thank you.
That's
So
awesome.
she turns 1 next week, so she keeps me busy. Like that is a whole job in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So props to all the moms, literally. But yeah, so I'm mom, wife, and I say mompreneur, entrepreneur of Like They Co. So I'm so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, girl, you make amazing creations, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that later on. But yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And so, essentially, why don't we talk about maybe how it was for you growing up in Dallas as a Latina in Texas, and I'm sure like California, Texas is filled with Latinos and Latinas, but talking about kind of like that Mexican American dream and how we go about kind of navigating through life
Yeah.
as Latinos and possibly as parents or daughters of immigrants, right? So like, how was that for you?
I think in Dallas specifically, like you said, hay bastantes Latinos
Sí.
y siempre había like, I can be in a room full of like other races, but as soon as I see a Latino, or we're like family, somos familia, like
Yeah.
automatically, like we're connecting. And it's happened to me so many times. But I think growing up in the Pleasant Grove area, which is very much Hispanic, and then but going to a school in East Dallas that is very mixed,
Mm,
I specifically didn't find um, like I didn't find myself out of the norm, but because I was always in a bubble of like other, like we always searched, you know, for other Hispanic people, and I was always like, oh, she's my friend, but you know, that's family over there, you know. And I don't know if it's just Dallas or if it's like that in California, but Hispanics, like, we have each other's backs all the time, no matter where we are, you know. And I didn't personally sense anything like that it was hard growing up, but I saw other people, like, if they struggled speaking English. My parents did not let me speak English at home growing up. Like, Spanish was my first language. Mi papá dijo, en la escuela te enseñan inglés, pero aquí vamos a hablar español.
Same for me.
Yeah, so, I mean, and then my dad didn't learn English, so I was on my way to middle school, you know, so he was taking all his English classes and stuff, but, you know, I did struggle. I was in ESL. So I was in ESL to probably second grade. So I found out they're like, okay, she can move out. But it was those struggles, and so I just feel like it was hard if you didn't speak English because there's always those people, you know. So we got a lot of that in Dallas as well, especially if we're, you know, trying to get a job and stuff. But I'm so appreciative for the sacrifices of my parents, because they stuck through. Like, my dad was like, I'm going to go to English school. I don't care. Like, I'm going to learn the language. And, you know, my mom, she's so now they're both fluent. And so they're like, what? But they do speak predominantly Spanish, but.
That's awesome. And did you ever find yourself kind of being able to, like, were there any areas in Dallas where, like, there's placitas or like little shops, like Mexican shops or whatever, that you could kind of feel like this is a little feel of like Mexico possibly for some Latinos and Mexicans and whatnot? Like, were there certain pockets of Dallas that you could possibly like feel that? Or
Yes, so that's actually where we stayed most of, like, growing up. Like, we stayed in those areas, like, vamos a ir al bazar, you know, like, we call them bazares, and you go in, it's like everything, the music, the sign, like, there's everybody in there, you know, like the botas, the hats, like, you're gonna find it all. Piñatas, you know, like, like, there is so many of those spots in Dallas that we're even going today. We're actually, because my daughter's birthday, we're gonna go to the bazaar to find the piñata y los dulces, you know, like the candy bags. Like, we're trying to, like, stick with that. We're like, no, we had candy bags, we had piñatas, we're gonna have that for our daughter too, you know. And so, but there is those spots, like, we go, and last week actually we're like, queremos un elote, like, bien preparado. We already know, vamos al bazar, because there's like 8 stands out there.
Nice, that's awesome. I feel like those are places where we're so kind of used to, like, growing up. And like in Mexico, there's a lot of like tianguis or like these kinds of cool spots where people tend to, you know, go to and kind of are used to shopping, you know. So that's awesome that we have that out here in a sense, like swap meets and kind of these things. And maybe like even farmers markets where they have like little shops that are like Mexican food, or, you know, little creations, or like, I don't know, jewelry or whatever it is. So I feel like that's, in a sense, gives you some sort of like, it's a little piece of like where I'm from, in a sense. And like, I can cater to this and I can contribute to this. So like, I definitely love those little shops and like those things, you know, because it definitely gives you a sense of like, they're bringing this stuff to us, you know. It's
definitely awesome. And, you know, like my husband always says it, like, we know when we're in Little Mexico, when every single sign of the businesses are all in Spanish. Like, they do not care. They're not translating that. It's in Spanish.
Quien saben que entendió, pues ya. Yeah, so true. And so what would you say for you has been kind of one thing that you absolutely love about our Mexican culture and being kind of out here in the States that you just kind of celebrate and love?
Personally, just because I know we had shared previously that I went overseas for a time, and what I, you know, recently just got to even admire was how diverse we are, but how we can relate to so many other cultures.
Yeah.
It is unique to us, of course, and we love Mexican culture, but there's just so much that we can relate to other cultures that I think that, you know, sets us apart as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. I absolutely love that. And when I lived overseas, they were like, "Oh, American." I was like, "Mexican." And I always said it, right? I was like, "Mexican," and then they're like, "Oh, Mexican, come over." And we were literally in people's houses because we were Mexican. They're like, "I have a spicy food you should try."
And would you mind sharing where you were at?
Yeah. So I was overseas. I was in India. And so, yeah, so, you know, like if you ever tried Indian food, they have the naan, that's like a tortilla, you know, like a thick
Yeah.
tortilla. They go, rice and beans is for everything. You know,
Mm.
they serve it with every meal. And then they have like their guisos, you know, they're called like the butter chicken, but it's un guiso for us.
Mm.
And so it's just like, so, you know, they're like, "Oh, Mary, you don't like spicy?" Like they're trying to like, and we're like, we're Mexican. And they're like, "Oh." And so, I mean, we got to connect with so many people
Mm-hmm.
because we were Mexican, meaning that they knew that our culture and their culture, like there were similarities.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. And I
Yeah.
think I would have never had that opportunity, you know, without me being like, actually, you know, they're like, "Where are you from?" And, you know, some people were like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, United States." "No, where are you really from?" You know?
Mm.
And I was like, "Ooh, that's what I should have started with."
Yeah.
And I was
Wow.
like, "Oh, Mexican descent." And it was like, you know, so I got to really love that in our culture. Like, man, they know we're family oriented, you know, they know we love parties. They knew we're staying late, you know. They knew if they said to come over at 5, I was showing up at 7. You
Oh
know, like,
yeah.
they were fine with it. They're like, "Yes, it's how it rolls here too."
Nice. Yeah. Isn't it crazy? So like I also was able to go abroad for some trips, and I went to Africa, to Cameroon, and it's a third world country, and although a lot of things are not necessarily similar in regards to like food and kind of that stuff, I mean some of the just the cultural like traditions or like just kind of
Mm.
their values or habits tend to be very similar to like ours too in a sense. So like, you know, you go over, they feed you nonstop, and like if you don't eat, like they get somewhat offended, you know? And so
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like this whole thing. And I had a similar situation as well where they were kind of wondering like, "Where are you from? Like you don't look American, you know, and like your accent or like things like this." And anytime I would say like, "No, I identify as Mexican," or whatever it was, they were like "Chicharito," or like, you know, it was very
For
that
sure.
approach. It was always so
Yes.
fun.
Absolutely love that. And, you know, I'm like, I'm so glad. And they knew my husband, they're like, "No, you are not American. Where are you from?" You know? And so they thought he was actually Indian. So that
Oh,
gave us, you know, like, we made friends instantly. And then me, they're like, "Where are you from?"
yeah.
But they knew that you know, we weren't Anglo American. So that was so fun. And I got to really just enjoy that aspect and like appreciate our culture for being so diverse in that aspect.
Did you ever, when you guys were out there, did you guys ever like share maybe some sort of like, I don't know, like Mexican dish to them, or make some tortillas, or like did you guys like exchange any kind of like things like that while you were in
Oh,
India?
absolutely. Oh, dijeron, "Oh, son mexicanos. Oh, quesadillas. So we're having tacos tomorrow." Like off the bat. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think, you know, it's so crazy what, you know, our cultures are, you know, being from a Mexican culture, what it can do in the hearts of people, or how, you know, their perception already, like in that
Mhm.
aspect, like, "Oh, tacos, you know, quesadillas." So we had friends over, and they would have never befriended us other than they knew we can make tacos, quesadillas, burrito, like they're
The
they're like,
good stuff.
"Oh, it's good." And we actually went to a Mexican restaurant in India.
Oh.
We found one. You know me, I had to find one because, yeah, I was like itching. I was like, "No." So I ended up finding it. It was about an hour and a half away, but we went to it, and it was actually a Mexican chef that started the restaurant there. He's actually in Mexico now. He just went to India, planted his business, had Mexican workers or in India working the restaurant, and it was amazing.
Holy
So
moly.
yeah, that was like a Mexican chef came all over here to teach all the food, and like there's Mexicans working it. They're like, yeah, he wanted the culture to stay. He didn't want no, he didn't want like Indians like messing the recipe or like making it catering to the Indian palate. No, he stuck with it. So it
Wow.
was really good. But yeah, when we told them, when they knew that's a Mexican family, they would not let me make pasta. They would not let me make pizza. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, no, you have to make Mexican food. So we did. We ended up making Mexican food. And it was weird because they're used to a very spicy, pero
Mm.
ya en la carne, ya
Mhm,
tienen
mhm.
todas las especies en la carne, but we add spice on the side. You add how much you want,
Mm.
So that was the difference. And they're like, a little bland. I'm like, ugh.
Aw.
What do you mean? So, I mean, they're used to very spicy. So, I'm like, ten la salsa, agrégale lo que quieras.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I feel like that's amazing when we can kind of, I feel like when we travel and we get to know other cultures, you essentially are able to be more kind of like aware of the world and in a
Yeah.
sense not be so close-minded to just one way of living, you know? And I feel like at least here in the States, it's very diverse, but it's also very kind of like a one way with certain stuff, you know? So I feel like when you're able to travel somewhere else, you're able to open up kind of those ideas and those thoughts, and so I feel like it helps you as an individual be a little bit more just inviting and more kind of open-minded with a lot of different stuff, even though you are living, you know, wherever it may be, and that it may not be as similar to like other countries or like third world countries or whatever the case may be. And we have it a lot better out here in the States, you know, but being able to kind of see that, and then also having immigrant parents who like kind of went through their struggles and whatnot to make it a living out here for us, and then us being able to kind of dive into that and see it and learn from it, you know. I think that's a
Yeah,
really awesome experience.
definitely.
Mhm.
It was a great time, and now we're like, we need to go to Mexico. Like, we've been to other countries now. Like, I haven't been to Mexico in like 4 years, 5 years,
Yeah.
maybe 4 years. So I'm like, oh, now we're itching to go back to Mexico because I know it's probably different than what we know.
Yeah.
Because it's been a minute, and I haven't even gone back to my parents' hometown. We usually just go to like bordering states or like
Mhm.
cities. So I need to go back to my parents' hometown.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's always so different from at least when I remember going, like when I was younger, and then now it's you see it so different, you know, catch on to so many different things, and you really, I don't know, it just opens up kind of like this really cool, just I I don't know, view of, you know, this is in a sense kind of like part of me and part of my story and part of my culture, and
Mhm.
this is where my parents came from, you know, and I don't know, it's just a really cool como que realización, you know, it's just kind of like, damn, this is awesome. Like, this is where they were brought up. Like, this is where they were kind of essentially where their life was. So it's really cool to go back and kind of see it yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I know we've been planning it forever, my husband and I, but we need to make it out there and like go back to where our parents are from. Well, my husband's side, his dad's still very much he lives on the border in the U.S., but he's in Mexico all the time because he has,
Mm.
property in Mexico. So he's always in Mexico. And then my husband's like, I need to go see my dad's property. I'm like, we do. We do.
Nice, 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 nice. That's awesome. And so in regards to your education, Lily, like did you ever feel so you got a bachelor's degree and with that, like throughout your process, like for me, for example, my parents were very clear that you tienes que ir a la escuela, you know, like that's definitely not an option. But at least for me, when I was going through college, like it was very like because I was first gen, because I was, you know, like just all these add-ons, I just didn't really understand sometimes how to navigate it. So was it kind of like that for you, wherever you attended school, and how was kind of that journey for you?
My journey going to college.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew my parents, valued education. They weren't as pushy for me to go to
Okay.
college necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew in my heart ever since I was little, like I'm going to college. Like
Yeah.
my mom, both of my parents, or my mom ended up getting a GED, and my dad didn't graduate high school. But they were like, we don't want to push you on something that we didn't get. But I was like, no, like I'm getting an education, a higher education for sure.
Yeah.
And so I um, didn't really get much pushback on that area. Like my parents didn't want to push it on me, but they always like, hey, so what's the next step? And they always wanted to know, Like at the end of the day, I think, I don't know, I always laugh at it with my dad because I feel like tú no más quieres que te mantenga. Like if you get to an age, they're like, I don't care where you go to school, make sure you have enough money to, take care of me when I'm older, like make sure I have a house, like so.
Yeah.
I was like, Pa, tú no más quieres que te mantenga, like I get it, like. But he was just like, hey, I'm gonna get to an age where I'm like, ahora quiero que mis hijos me cuiden a mí.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but I did go ahead and get a bachelor's, and I looked into a master's. I wanted to get a higher education, and I wanted to do all these things, but I ended up going abroad, and so many other things happened. But it's still in the back of my mind to
Yeah.
continue my education.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, thank you for sharing that. I feel like a lot of folks, at least Latinos and Latinas, tend to relate to kind of these stories, right? And these experiences where, we are trying to figure it out. We're trying to really work hard and make it work. But at times it could be kind of rough to not only go to school, but you have to work, but you have to do all these other stuff and take care of all these other things
Yeah.
that sometimes it could kind of be it really, I feel like it really is kind of like a family type of approach to a lot of these decisions in a sense. Like sometimes what your parents tell you have a big impact in kind of like your decisions and, but at the end of the day, they always want you to succeed. So I feel like that's kind of what bottom line is their goal.
Yeah. Or like they
Yeah.
correlate to like, they correlate how much you're gonna make with a higher education. Like, oh, if you want this money, then you have to get this education. You want this money, you have to get this education. So,
Yeah.
which we know, sometimes not always true, but that it is a big part as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do value my parents and thanking them for wanting to know what's next, and so but I always knew, I was like, no, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be an attorney. I'm like, my dad was like, tú eres mi licenciada. Like, I remember like me just walking, he was like, ven mi licenciada, and me like, like, desde niña, like, I was like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do. And of course, once I got to college, a lot of things changed, in my heart specifically, but he knew that that's what I wanted to do, and they were very, of course, supportive of it.
Mm-hmm. What did you end up majoring in?
Human services, specifically in criminal justice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you kind of did want to tap into like the law school, kind of that approach?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I was applying for law school whenever I just knew that I was feeling a little different. I was working for a few law firms. I think I worked for 3 law firms, different because I was trying to find my place. Immigration law firm, then I did injury law, and then I was like doing all these things, and I was like, no me hallo. Like, I like this and I don't like that, because when you're a paralegal or a legal assistant, you do all the work, like the attorney just comes and signs. So I was doing all the work, and I was like, I really don't like this.
Yeah. All the administrative work and kind of that stuff, no?
Yeah, I was like, I really don't like this, and then my heart changed, and I was like, no, then I met my husband, but before I met my husband, I was like, I was going abroad for a bit to some countries, and I was like, I think I want to do work abroad. I think I want to go abroad for some time. And so that's when I went to India for a year.
Nice. That's awesome. That's always awesome to kind of navigate different spaces to see what you want to do, because sometimes even when you do have a bachelor's or a degree, you end up, once you dive into kind of the career, the sector, it may not always be kind of what you expected. So sometimes it's always okay to kind of revamp like that idea of what you want your career to look like. And so kind of you know, not always get stuck in kind of a one-way path, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was the hardest though for like my parents, even though they didn't like they knew they wanted us to have a higher education, they didn't push me to go higher, but
Hmm.
even though it was encouraged, but as soon as I told them, you know, oh, well, I'm gonna go abroad for some time, they're like, wait, what? Absolutely not.
Like, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna live? All that stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's what the whole I think like the American dream was, you know, it's very input in our parents and you know in our and older cultures or generations, and I think that's what we wanted to talk about, like the Mexican American dream, you know, like well, what are our dreams? Like I know our parents
Yeah.
like want us to, you know, succeed in life, but sometimes it's in their ways. So finding
Mhm.
our dreams in the mix of that as Mexican Americans, in my case. So
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's always really interesting to kind of also take a step back and realize, you know, what is it that you want to do? And yeah, that's awesome that you have a degree, but like, what would that look like for you? And kind of like also share that with your parents and let them know kind of what your ideas are and kind of those next steps, because sometimes they may not also understand kind of what your plan is and how it works out here and kind of that stuff. So I definitely can relate.
yes.
Uh, but yeah, so let's maybe then dive into kind of what, how you started with your whole shop and your whole creation of like clay and .co, because I feel like that was such a cool creation of yours. You're so talented.
Thank you.
And so how did this all come about? Like, when did it start? How did you come across like this whole idea of creating these amazing creations?
Thank you so much. I actually I was overseas when I was in India. I
Hmm.
in India the culture is very much like Mexican culture. No salen de la casa sin aretes, without their
Hmm.
bangles. Like, you know, my mom has a whole like closet look like a whole cabinet of jewelry. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
and so she's just like, this is, you know, you just choose what accessory you're gonna wear accessory. So that's how it was very much like that overseas
Hmm.
too. And so I knew before I came back, like I was like, oh, there was some young girls that I was mentoring, and I was a soccer coach out there. So all the girls that were on the field with me, I was like, I want to give them something before
Yeah.
I come back to the States. And so I found the medium of like earring making. They wore earrings. I mean, they didn't want to take them off even when we were on the field. Like that's
Oh.
so I was like, I'm gonna make some earrings for them, and so that's when I discovered this medium of like clay and um, making jewelry out of it. So I bought all the materials, started making them. I still have like the picture of my very first, you know, like batch for very first earrings that I made.
Nice.
And so I made them for them, and and at the time, like looking back now, I was like, okay, those were a little hot mess. But at the time, I was like, whoa, these are, you know, these came out so nice, you know. I was rolling the clay with my hairspray bottle, you know, like the top
Yeah.
of my chapstick was the little circles. And so, like, I was making it work, you know.
Yeah.
And so I ended up giving it to the girls one of my last weeks there, and I just knew that when I came back that I wanted to continue making the medium. I just fell in love with it. But it did start overseas, and it started with me just gifting them to the girls. And now that I came back, I was like, I continued, and I wanted to continue just, you know, contributing overseas to girls that needed to women. And so now you know, I just thank God that through like Clayco, I'm able to help, you know, women and girls overseas.
Hmm. That's so awesome that you have such a mission and that you are able to kind of provide this amazing little creation, you know, and help abroad and really see the change that you could possibly do, even though you may not be essentially back out there, you know, that you're still able to. You're adding to our accessories, right? And we
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
love this. These are awesome. These are so cool. And then you're also giving back in a sense, you know, with what you're creating. I think that's so powerful because, I mean, there are, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely some creators and some folks who create these kinds of different things, whether it's jewelry or other things, other products, and essentially don't necessarily see that interest or don't see kind of that need that folks may have in other places, and kind of just giving back in that way, honestly, te regresa mucho, you know, it gives back to you in a sense.
Yeah, I just knew. I was like, I'm not just gonna make to make or make to
Mm-hmm.
sell or anything like that. I do very much want everything to go even overseas, and it's not something that I'm like, oh, like that's them, this is me. Like they need help, and for this, you know, I'm gonna send help. But even local,
Yeah.
there's girls that I know that are like, oh, we're actually gonna go help, you know, water, you know, of cleaning water and the pipes. And so, you know, even people like that I know here that are going to go overseas and do some kind of work, humanitarian work or whatever it may be, like I want to help through like co-sponsor their trip to go and help those communities.
That's so awesome. Props to you for having kind of that idea and that desire to really give back, you know, from what you're creating. Because let's be real too. Like, I mean, you, in regards to creating kind of these clay earrings or jewelry in general, it can definitely take a while. Like, I don't know if you kind of want to share a little bit of what that process is, because I know it's not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, now thank God I moved from my chapstick bottle caps and my hairspray bottles to roll the clay. So that process was very long.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it still takes me a bit. And
Mhm.
I love the handmade aspect of it though, because it's literally, you know, somebody asked me, so where do you get the pieces? And I was like I make them. They're like, well, what do you mean? But
Yeah.
it's clay. I'm like, I literally mold the clay with my hand. They're like, wait, what? It's like, no, literally,
Yeah.
the clay doesn't come in a form. It comes in a little square, and I have to mold it to where, you know, I want it to be. And so I think just that adds value to the jewelry, because it's literally my heart. If I didn't want to do this, if I didn't want to, you know, if I didn't have a heart for it, then I would not spend so much time on it, you know. But it literally is something that I enjoy and I love having people feel so confident in it, even here, and knowing that have that confidence as well, that as you're feeling confident, there's something that's going for women and girls overseas.
Yeah.
But I mean, some pieces take me a whole hour just for one earring, and then some pieces, you know, takes me half an hour depending on the style, the size, and if it has like florals and stuff. The Frida is one of my favorites. Like I got to do
Yeah.
like the little, I was like, I have to do the unibrow, you know.
Yeah,
But
and yeah, no, I was just gonna ask in regards to, because you recently created like a cultura style type of creation and launch, right?
yeah.
With this type of collection. And so I don't know if you want to just kind of share a little bit of kind of how that came about. Of course, being Mexicana, you know, like you obviously have these kinds of ties, but what led to you wanting to roll out this type of kind of creation and collection as a whole?
I think for me, I was creating a lot of things and I was getting into florals. And I think with the florals, I was like, the colors that I was combining, like the ones that you have, those just those colors
Yeah.
reminded me of Mexican culture, you know, like the little florecitas, the things, you know,
Yeah.
in the neighborhoods that are hanging. And I actually wanted to make one last year in September, you know, and to celebrate Independence Day and stuff like that. And then it didn't happen. I was like, it's okay. Like I'm gonna do it February, March, just whenever I get the time to create an entire collection. And
Mhm.
so I knew that I wanted to do it. And so I just started playing around with it. And really, most of the inspiration did come from family or like dresses. I actually saw a friend post her little Mexican dress, but
Yeah.
it was for school, but she was getting ready because it was like a Cinco de Mayo like celebration. She was
Yeah.
gonna be dancing folklorico. And so I was like,
Nice.
yes. I was like, that's the inspiration for this collection right there.
Yeah.
Like I did folklorico for like 4 years in elementary, like middle school.
No
I
way. Me,
Yeah, I
I
absolutely
did it
loved it.
too
Yeah.
for like 7 years.
Man, I loved
Nice.
it. I was in pep rock. I
Yeah.
love that stuff. I
Yeah.
was that dance
Same.
group that was going like folklorico, and then the cumbias came after, and then like all the and there goes Lily like right there in all the dance groups. That was
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl. That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
that's where the inspiration came from like a folklorico dress. And I was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna make a whole collection, florals and colors, and and that's way out of my element because usually what I create is pretty neutral,
Mhm.
not big bold colors. So I knew it was gonna stand out, and it did. It popped off, and I just did not know what an impact it would have made, or what an impact it made,
Mhm.
and how many other Mexican women and girls that were like, "That's mine. I need this. I need it." I was
Yeah.
like, I would have never thought. I thought I was making this for me, like for me to stand out in
Yeah.
my culture and to bring this collection. But I did see. I mean, I had even friends that aren't Mexican. They're like, those are just gorgeous, and I love Mexican culture, and those are gorgeous. I've sold so many of the Fridas that people are just like,
I
I
need
love
that.
it. When you see Frida, they're like Mexican, like Mexican culture.
Yeah. No, seriously, I can definitely see that. And that's so awesome, honestly. Like I think that that's the idea. It's essentially sharing our culture, it's coming together, it's supporting each other, and especially when there's a bigger cause like what you're promoting, right? And what you're doing. That just speaks so much to so many people that I'm
Mhm.
sure that's kind of like a really awesome way for folks to feel, I'm helping you in a sense, but also I'm giving back things to how you're going about wanting to donate and give back to folks in India, right? So like it's a bigger cause than just, like um just supporting one specific shop or cause or thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm excited to share. I was so excited to share the culture, and I'm hoping to do even more.
Yeah.
Man, after that collection, and I posted it and everything, where I was like, oh, I started playing with clay, and I was like, okay, but I want to do this. Like, ya se acabó la colección, but I'm over here still trying to do more colors. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do a whole other, because then my mom was like, oh, this would have been cute with this. And, like just seeing then how my mom, like, has her jewelry and how she wears it. She's like, oh, this would have been beautiful. And so she was giving me ideas. I'm like, I need a whole other collection now.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. And what would be kind of like your next steps with Likely Co, or what have you kind of thought about, aside from what you're already doing, what you would want to push forward within the next, I don't know, months or years?
Yeah, so I currently am looking into getting in some boutiques here locally, just
Mm,
so I can, not just broaden my product. It's literally, I know that when I broaden, and I'm gonna be able to give back even more to
mhm,
overseas work. And so that was really my heart behind it. I was like, if I get into boutiques, which I'm currently working on, then I can contribute even more, and people will be more aware of what's going on overseas. And
mhm.
so that is in the works. And also, I'm planning a trip to go back to India, and
Mm,
actually, me and my entire family are going back. We're hoping and praying that January, February. Right now, the country is
nice.
closed, because of COVID, and just cases are so high.
Mhm.
But hoping the January, February, we're able to go back. And so that I'm so excited for that. So
Yeah.
excited for that. But also just in speaking in future terms, about a year, 2 years from now, I'm actually currently working on taking light clay and the
Mhm.
creations of clay and helping women out there in India help self-sustain themselves through jewelry making. So, and
Mhm.
essentially it's teaching them exactly what I do so that they can turn around and, create their own creations and sell for a living.
Oh, that's amazing. Lily, you're awesome. That's so awesome that you see that bigger picture, you know, that you're able to share your talents and share these things with folks out there as well. Because at the end of the day, you know, like some people do have these kind of desires, you know, to better themselves, better their situation, better their life. And if you're able to kind of share your awesome talents with other folks, then that's awesome. And like the simple fact that you see that and that you're willing to do that, that's amazing. So thank you for that.
It is definitely a special place, and I don't, you know, have like, oh, this is mine and nobody, you know, can know what I'm doing. I've actually had people in my DMs like locally, and they're like, hey, I actually started working with it, you know, like I want to know. And I was like, okay, buy this, buy that. Like it's not something that I'm like hoarding for myself, you know. I do love, you know, the love, the support that everybody's giving me, and I'm able to contribute overseas, but it's not something that I hoard. And I don't know, I if you have your heart on something, you want to do something, like I'm all for it, like lifting each other up, honestly. And so I've done that a few times, helping other women. So now to be able to be like helping women overseas and do the same, because it's very hard, and country like that is so hard, especially for women. It's such a male dominated country.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen machismo like I did there, you know, like
Yeah.
women have to literally stand behind their husbands and walk.
Wow.
Over there, women don't order their food. The man of the table orders for the entire table.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's things like that. So I'm like, oh, you know, if I'm able to contribute and help women and girls self-sustain themselves through this jewelry making, I was like, I'm there.
Oh, you're awesome. That's great. Honestly, that's amazing. And again, thank you so, so much for sharing your story, for being so real about it, and for giving back, like I said, because not a lot of folks tend to take that route, you know, they take it more, oh my God, I'm making money and I'm, you know, and I want to keep going with this route and I'm paying other things and I'm have other stuff to like other fees, other stuff to pay, you know, but in a sense, like always when you take this approach of like, yes, it's my time, it's my money, whatever the case may be, but at the same time I see the need and I need to give back, and kind of taking this approach, it really, o sea, sí te ayuda en el futuro, you know.
Yeah.
You're really o sea, lo que tú haces como que se te regresa en ese aspecto, you know. So I think that goes a long way.
Yep, and I think I mean, I know for different reasons people don't do that, you know, and absolutely they have every right, you know. But I think just the aspect of helping other people, I think that's always been my heart. And so I think that's why I do what I do. But cada quien luce en sus caminos, you know, like I can make certain things, but if I teach somebody else, they're not copying what I'm doing. They're taking off in their own ways and their own styles. And so I think there's room for everybody, and I hope the sun shines for everybody. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you for being such a light and being such a, honestly, a hero to so many folks out there. I'm sure that feel some way about what you're doing and how you're choosing to give back to them, like I said, and sharing your knowledge, sharing your talents, and being there, you know, and being willing to walk through this process with them, and not essentially not take this approach of like, well, I'm in the States, you know, like I'm not living your life and kind of that, you know, and instead doing something about it. So I think that speaks so much. So props, honestly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And so, well, before we kind of end our life today, I always love to get to know you in a fun way. And so I implement this really cool game to these chats, so that way people get to know you at a fun level, you know. So we're gonna play this game called this or that. Okay.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll provide you with two options, and you just have to choose one or the other. Sound good?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so what does Lily prefer? Since you're a jewelry creator, do you prefer to create earrings, or do you prefer to create necklaces?
Earrings. For
Earrings.
Sure.
Okay. Why do you choose one that over necklaces for that?
Me personally, just because I see the face first, so I see earrings first than what I would see necklaces, and so I always like you know, I wouldn't wear a jumbo necklace, but you know, wear some jumbo earrings.
Gotcha. And question in regards to that, just to piggyback on that, can you actually make clay rings, or is that not really something that's doable or
Yeah,
wearable?
yeah,
Oh,
you can
okay.
make clay rings. Yeah, there's actual like molds for it where you know,
Mm,
you stuff the clay in there and then you carefully take it out of the mold to create an earring. I mean, to create a ring. So it is possible. I just never like ventured into that, which people are like,
yeah.
okay, rings and bracelets are next. Like those. So yeah, they're asking me to bring rings
Gotcha.
and bracelets. I just haven't ventured into that.
Gotcha. Good to know, because I'm definitely a rings person too. So I was wondering.
Yay.
But okay. Yeah. So, okay. So let's see. Lily, what do you prefer? Do you prefer um, to dance to salsa or reggaeton?
That's so, you know what? Like, I move, like, to, if I hear a salsa, like, song, I'm like, ooh, you know, and my stepdad, I remember hearing him, because he's in a band, and so I remember hearing him, like, you know, playing salsa and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
when I was growing up, and so I was like, you know, but actually, when I was into folklorico and all that, and
Mhm.
into pep rallies in high school, it was reggaeton, so I'm gonna go with reggaeton.
Nice. I
My
like that.
husband hates it, but
I bet. Yeah. Awesome. So let's see. What do you prefer? Do you prefer tacos or do you prefer tamales as a true Mexican? What would you go for?
um 364 days tacos. Christmas
Nice.
tamales.
What's your go-to taco?
Oh, my go-to taco. Man, there's a place out here. It's faji queso, so it's the fajita pero con queso. And so that is my go-to
Nice.
fajita.
That sounds bomb.
Yeah.
Nice. A ver, what do you prefer? ¿Prefieres tequila o prefieres vino?
I don't
To
drink
drink.
either.
Either. Okay.
No.
So what would be your go-to then drink?
Um Other than like water with lemon, but no, other than that, a good strawberry lemonade. Yeah, I don't
Nice.
drink either. I don't drink at all.
Or like horchata or
Oh,
maybe
horchata,
like
hands down.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. I was gonna say horchata or Jamaica. So yeah, horchata.
Oh yeah, horchata.
For sure. Okay, gotcha. A ver, do you prefer nowadays Netflix or would you opt out to novelas possibly?
You know what? Novelas.
Really?
They're made so much different now than what I remember.
Yeah.
Like the drama is like so different, and like now that I'm old enough, I'm like, oh, esta se va a juntar con esta se va a morir, esta se va a pelear con. It's like so evident. I already know what's gonna happen because I grew up watching them so much. But I just miss that. I miss when I lived with my parents. They still watch novelas. My parents still watch
Nice.
novelas. But growing up, 6 to 9, nobody called me, nobody texted me because from 6 to 9 there's novelas, and that's what we're doing during dinner. Mm-hmm.
That's so funny. Oh my God, that's hilarious. And do you opt out? Last one. Do you prefer to have pan dulce or do you prefer to have donuts?
Oh, pan dulce.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
pan
I
dulce.
just,
And I don't really venture out. Like, there's a panaderia nearby, and my husband's like, "Oh, options," but I always go for the conchas. Like,
yeah.
and I want the white one, like, or the pink one. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so I'm like, man, I always just, I don't know. I don't know if it's a safe zone or because that's how I just grew up. Like, dip that in the cafe or dip that, and whatever drink we're having. And so, yeah, I just always go to conchas.
Yeah, bomb. Those are always such a good idea.
Yes.
Um, awesome. Well, Lily, thank you so much for again sharing your story today with us. Your Mexican American dream, right? And again, this is your story. Of course, some folks can relate to this in one to a certain extent, right? But we share this to essentially promote, you know, that we do have a lot of similarities. We all come to this side of the world to better ourselves, you know, and essentially also not forget our culture and embrace all that we are. And in this case, I also do have both nationalities, so I really do embrace both. And I really am proud of my Mexican culture as well. So essentially, you know, just being able to just know that we're all in this together. We're all here to help each other out. We all have a dream, and there's so many of us that can kind of give back and help each other out and be there, you know. So thank you again. And before we close off, I would just definitely want to ask you, what would be kind of that advice that you would give to our Latinos, our Latinas, or Latinx folks that that has helped you throughout your life, just in general?
Yeah, I think just to finish off, the last thing that I do, you know, I say, and I think I share a lot, is that we honor our parents, we honor their sacrifices to come, you know, to this country. We sacrifice all that they do and did. But what I want to encourage, like, our community really is to discover and walk in our, like, Mexican American dream. And I say that, like, so respectfully, our American dream, and how even though our parents have so many good intentions for us and want us to literally be the best that we can be, it's okay to do something out of the box. If you find yourself like you're struggling, or you're like very like stressed about your dreams, or you want to do something, but maybe your parents are looking down on it or don't understand why you're going on a different route that they wanted for you. Just wanted to say that it's okay to do something out of the box and happily live your dreams and your ambitions, and respectfully, you know, like, we honor them. Like I always say, it's like I honor my parents, and they didn't understand why I was moving overseas when they fought so hard to be in this country, you know, and live our American dream as a family. But I just discovered, you know, that my Mexican American dream, and like what I wanted to do with my passions and my ambitions, and just know that it was okay to go out of the box. They love you regardless. And they're going to support you regardless. They just want the best for you. So don't take that like so personal. They're like, don't understand, because I definitely went through that. But that's something that I always share, encourage. It's okay to go out of the box, respectfully, and honoring your parents as well.
Yes, 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 yes. 100% agree. Well, thank you so much. And one last thing too, where can people find your shop, your handles, so that way if people want to purchase these amazing creations and a lot more, where can they find you?
You can find me at Like Clay, Like, likeclay.co, also likeclayco.com. So either of those, my website or my Instagram handle.
Yeah, and locally too, I know that you've gone to several like markets or like different events that are kind of hosted out there. So I don't know if some folks are within like the Dallas area. They can kind of just look through your Instagram account, which I will tag, and then just kind of follow through to see where you will be out.
Yes, I'm usually at different events in different parts of Dallas. That way it's reachable to different parts, because Dallas is so big. But definitely, I usually post the place where I'm at about a week in advance. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Lili, la verdad. Thank you. You're amazing. Gracias por todo lo que haces. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story today. And thank you, everyone, for connecting today and joining us. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for your platform. I truly just admire you for it. And you are such a boss. And thank you so much for just hosting this platform for us, because obviously it's needed. And so I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Cuídate mucho, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Yes, bye.
Bye.